Welcome to the Church Solutions Podcast, brought to you by JSL Solutions. The Church Solutions Podcast is designed to help equip you and your church in the use of technology and other tools and services. And now, here are your hosts, Steve Lacy and Phil Thompson.
And it's good to be with you again for another edition of the Church Solutions Podcast.
Hi, my name is Steve Lacy.
And I am Phil Thompson, as the announcer said, and we bring you this podcast every week. We're a tech company, but we talk more than just tech, don't we?
We do, and we're going to talk more than tech today, right?
Yeah. This is probably more than tech. So this is some information from Thomas Rainer, who somebody you listen to, right? He's got a little podcast. He's with what? Lifeway Christian Resources, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And they're part of the Southern Baptist Convention.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
What do you know?
Got some good information here from some Baptists. We're going to talk about some common mistakes that churches make regarding visitors. That's right. I'm still on this soapbox of dealing with visitors in your church because a lot of churches just don't do it well.
Who needs visitors?
Yeah, well, if you're interested in growing, you want visitors, but I guess if you're not, right, who cares?
Yeah, so this job would be wonderful if it wasn't for these blasted customers.
That's right, all these people coming in the door. So, I know we're heading into summer, but you're still going to get visitors. And actually, some of these things we're going to talk about here would probably be good to work on during the summer because you may not have as much stuff going on, maybe, depending on what kind of church you are and what you're doing. So sometimes the summers do slow down a little bit for us if we're in church work. So you could maybe work on some of these things we're going to talk about so you get ready for the fall.
Yeah, and we've got, 10 plus?
We got over 10.
10 plus 1.
Yeah, I even added another one.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Wait
You're
till you
making
get
this stuff
to it.
on the fly, huh?
On the fly. Just add. We'd probably make it longer.
You got lots of pet peeves, huh?
Well, I do, but I try to do it in a positive way just because the bottom line is we wanted new people to connect, new people to feel at home in the church. And so some of these things, if we point them out, might lead to some change.
These could be considered, you call them 10 mistakes, right? But
that's what I call them.
I think Tom Rainer calls them 10 failures.
I guess.
So,
it's
or
just,
11 failures.
Failure seems kind of permanent.
Permanent,
almost.
yeah, that's true.
Like you failed, you're done. Well, mistakes like, okay, I made a mistake, I can change it. So I don't know. That's me. So, but hey, who wants to argue with a guy that spells his name Thom? That's how he spells his first name instead of Tom.
Oh,
yeah.
It's his abbreviated version of Thomas, I guess.
I don't know. He just goes by Tom Rainer.
All right.
Or as I like to say, Rainier. But let's move on. All right.
So number one.
Let's go with number one. And this is the one that you and I always talk about, but it bears forth repeating: failure to have an informative, easy-to-use website.
Yes. So as I'm sure our listeners agree, your website is the front door for your church.
Yeah.
So you need to make it. There's a few things you want to make sure that you have. They want to know what you're about and what it's going to be like.
Exactly.
So those are some of the critical things, and everything else is not as important.
Yeah, and it's really today websites are pretty easy to update. You don't have to be a genius to do that, although you and my flock made that easy many, many years ago. There's other website obviously out there now. So you can easily change some things, modify some things, and fill it with some good content and some good stuff that guests and members alike would hopefully enjoy.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before, so we're not going to belabor it. But
all right, so we're moving on.
Check your website. Make sure it's up to date and make sure that it's informative and easy to find things. All right, so number 2.
Failure of pastors and staff to be actively involved in social media. And this is your other pet peeve.
Yeah, and again, we've talked about this, and in fact, we just had a guy come in working with your church that talked a little bit about how they're doing social media, and he pointed out some of their glaring mistakes,
yes,
which we could broadcast here if we want. But I think one of the things that Craig brought up was people just post things, but there's no interaction.
Yeah, that's probably a common mistake a lot of ministries are doing. So they'll go, oh, we need to send this newsletter blast. We need to send this, and let's go post that newsletter blast on all the different social media platforms. And social media is geared for discussion. So
so it's more than just throwing content out there.
Right.
And walking away from it, which unfortunately a lot of churches do. And I'm sure there's people out there going, hey, you've been hitting us to do social media. We're doing it. Well, yeah, but you're not doing it right.
Yes. So it's intended to be an opportunity for discussion. Discussion,
interaction. And
as one of our, this Craig that you mentioned, reinforced, he says, social media is 1-to-1 to many to millions.
That's good. Craig Smeal. We've had Craig on here before.
What was that name?
Smeal? What's his name? Smeal, right? No. What's his last name?
Smee.
Okay. Smeal, Schmail, whatever. But Craig, I hope he's not listening. I'm sure he's not. He's too busy. But we've had Craig on before. We need to have him on again.
Yeah.
Craig Smee.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. I like Smeal better. Let's call him Craig Smeal.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. So very quickly, though, look, you got social media. Pastors and staff should be more involved in it because the people out there, they want to hear from the pastor a little more than just Sunday morning or Saturday night. And they want to hear from the staff. So get interactive.
All right.
Let's move on from these.
Number 3, failure of pastors and staff to understand they represent the church.
Yeah, this is...
I have a T-shirt that says, I am the church.
So the point here is that when you are involved in social media and you put things on there that, how can we say it? I guess what this writer might say, not Christ-like maybe, things that might, the point is you represent your church, not only yourself, but your church, and most importantly, Christ. So be careful the words you use, how you address things. Now, I've seen people...
I think what you promote and denounce and things like that, you just need to be aware that you represent the church.
And I have seen pastors get involved in, not that you can't say something controversial, but they've got pushback from something they said, so then they push back further, and instead of it being a discussion, it becomes personal, and it becomes,
an argument.
An argument and personal, put downs are used, and you idiot, can't you see this?
Yes, I've got an ongoing battle that's been raging for, I think, more than a year on a video that we pushed to YouTube from we pushed all the Media Vault videos to YouTube for our customers.
Okay.
And one of them just ignited a spark
on the comments on YouTube.
In the comments on YouTube, okay. And it has been going forever. Every 3 or 4 days, I'll get another rant, and then the other side will rant on something else, and so it's just.
I think it's common.
There's probably hundreds of comments on this one video. So
I think good discussion can be very helpful, but when you get these rants and again personal attacks and just all sorts of things, that's where you really draw to me step across the line, and you lower yourself, and you lower your church if you're on that particular representing that thing. But yeah, it can be. So we want people to be interactive on social media. We just don't want you to be a butthead on social media and say things that, are just ridiculous and cutting and ripping people down. It's supposed to build people up.
Right. All right. Number 4.
All right. Failure, or I would say mistakes to urge people to be a part of groups. In other words, failure to urge people to be a part of groups. So we're talking about common mistakes or failures that a lot of churches do, especially when involving new people or new guests that come in. And I believe, and I think you do too, that groups outside of a Sunday morning meeting can be very healthy. They can help people connect. They can help people get involved in ministry. It can be very evangelistic if done in the right way. It can help people grow spiritually. It can help them form relationships.
Yeah, you can definitely, you'll go deeper with people in a small group than you would just Sunday morning.
So a lot of times we don't, if you're a leader, whether it's a staff person or even a key volunteer, we forget to, always encourage people to be part of smaller groups. Hopefully your church has some kind of a small group at least certain times of the year, or other smaller functions outside of the Sunday morning venue that people can come and be a part of and get to know each other. And to me, that's a healthy thing to do.
All right. So along those lines, number 5.
Yeah. Number 5 is failure of leaders to be actively involved in influencing the content of these groups. Now, this is always one of the fears that a lot of pastors have is, we don't want small groups because they could get out of control and cause church splits. And that can certainly happen.
That's a thing.
What's that?
That's a thing?
Church splits?
I know church splits are a thing, but I wouldn't think that if I have small groups, I'm more likely to have a church split.
Well, there are some, I don't believe that's true, but there are some pastors that really get freaked out over that because maybe in their past they had an experience where there was people in the group that decided they didn't like what the pastor was doing or the way the church was going, and it kind of became this little schism.
Yeah, I could see that, but that's not how you create small groups, though. You don't say,
no,
we hate the pastor group. So
no,
let's all get together.
And obviously we don't have a group like that. I mean, most churches don't advertise a group like that. And for those of you who hate the pastor, join this group Wednesday night. But what happens is these things evolve, and they become a gossip bed, and the next thing you know, you do have discontented people. And I used to have a friend of mine that was in ministry said, birds of a feather flock together.
So this point is on the failure of leaders to be actively involved in the content that the group is going over. Yeah. So you a lot of times, and we did this for a while, we're forming a group, you get together and decide what you want to review or study or whatever.
Right.
And now we're a little more structured and
right.
steer. All of our groups now are based on the last week's teaching.
Yeah, that's exactly what ours do. So if you just kind of have a free for all, I was mentioning earlier how birds of a feather flock together. I had a leader who said, you can have people they can be clear across the room and they'll find each other. The ones that seem to have an attitude or a problem or something. So I think that the bottom line is you should have some kind of small groups, and you should urge people to go to those, but you should also make sure that there's some involvement in the content of your groups, whatever you're going to be doing. And so you don't have just a free-for-all and whatever happens kind of a thing, because I think you can get off track there. And again, you don't want to be a control freak, but you definitely want to have, and people, most people are looking for topics and, okay, we want to do this. Where do we go? We're not sure. So leadership can provide some valuable input on that. And I think there should also be accountability. We're getting off track here a little bit, but it is talking about groups. I think whoever your small group leaders are, you should be in touch with them on a regular basis. So you should encourage people to go to small groups. You should be a part of the content, and you should get some feedback too. Because if you have feedback, you can find out, okay, maybe somebody's got a valid complaint or a valid point, and maybe you might go, yeah, it's a good idea. We should implement that in our service, or we should not be doing this. We should do this instead. But if you don't have any kind of a sounding board, that's where division and contention comes in, and, all sorts of problems.
All right, moving on smartly to number 6.
Failure of church members to be considerate of where they sit. This is a pet peeve of mine, where they sit during a worship service.
I'm not sure anybody does it right.
Well, because everybody likes to sit in their favorite spot. I
guess. This is, getting into pet peeves here. You board a plane and they always say, okay, step out of the aisle so the people behind you can get by before you put your things up. No one does that.
Exactly.
At all.
Yeah.
Just.
Yep.
That's my pet peeve. I'm like, just get out of the way, let the people behind you buy, and then start stuffing your stuff in the.
Yeah, I mean, and depending on the seating you've got in your facility at your church, I mean, I see this all the time. Especially we get busy. This is Tucson, Arizona, and many churches get really more full during the winter season. We're getting into summer now, so it's going to thin out in some churches.
But yeah, I don't know. I've walked into my church as well, and the people that got there early got all the prime seats, so they're all on the aisles,
right?
And so you're having to crawl over people, and
so, it's kind of like the movie theater. I don't know. I don't like going to movie theaters. Sometimes I have to go through a bunch of people to get to a seat.
In the movie theater, the key is the center of the theater. That's where it draws most of the people.
Right.
But in church, people want to sit near an aisle so they can get out of there. So,
although I might dispute you with the movie theater, sometimes I like to be on an aisle too, so I can get out of there. I don't have to deal with people.
But then you're off on the side.
That's me. But
and you're looking at the movie sideways.
It just depends on the theater, I guess. I don't know. I don't like movie theaters anyhow.
Anyway, yes.
But, so what we're getting at here's the big picture. What we're trying to say here is people should, they should be aware that visitors and other people
is it
coming
to the ushers to say, "Hey, get off the aisle, you longtime member."
I think
sit in the middle of this row.
Yeah, that's a good question. How do you communicate this to people? I think you can, in a very gentle way, communicate it. Maybe in your newsletter. I don't know if you want to put it in the program or not, but.
Stop taking all the good seats.
I think there's a way to communicate that where, look, guys, be aware we got people trying to crawl over you to get to something, especially the newer people. I mean, it's one thing if you're a regular and you're used to it and all right, well, I got to go past Sally and Jim and now I got to go jump over this person. But if you're a newer person, this is like very annoying to a newer person. That's my take on it anyhow. I don't know.
All right. Okay, number 7.
Yeah, we don't really have an answer on how to fix that, but maybe somebody out there will come up with a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
All right, number 7.
I didn't realize it was such a big deal, but I guess it was.
It is for me. I hate it.
All right, so failure to have parking lot greeters.
Okay, so no parking lot greeters. This is a common mistake. If you have a large parking lot, and if you have a lot of people especially, even if you don't have a large parking lot, I guess if it's always full, it would really be good to have a parking lot person there, not only to help maybe with some traffic issues, but also just to greet people when they're coming up to the door.
Yeah, I would think as you come up to the door, it would be the most important.
Yeah.
I think I've told you this story before about the confusing experience I had at Chuck Swindoll's church when he was still pastoring a church in California.
Yeah.
You drive into the parking lot, and they had parking lot greeters, but all of them would hold up, on one hand, they'd hold up one finger, on the other hand, they'd hold up 2 fingers.
Yeah.
And they'd look at you like, 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm like, you're new to this place, and you're like, I have no idea what this guy's asking me. There's 2 people there's 3 in my car, so So anyway, that was code for you staying for 1 service or 2 services.
And nobody explained that to new people.
Well, yeah, they just. As soon as you pull in the lot, there's guys, they're out there, but they're not.
Yeah,
they're just holding up 1 and 2. And then the next week you come back, you go, oh, okay, I got the single. I'm going to hold my.
So there's a different place to park, obviously.
This was, again, Chuck Swindoll's church was really popular in his heyday. And so they would double park if you were staying for 2 services. So they'd direct you to a place where you could not get out.
Oh, okay.
So
nice.
Until the second service was over. Because they needed, in Southern California as well. So.
Sure, yeah. Well, I think, getting back to this point, I mean, parking lot greeters and people outside the church, if you can do that, is a healthy thing to do. And, you can set up these portable little, what do they call them? I call them little tents, but they're not. Are they tents? That you can get them at Price Club or
canopies?
Canopies, you can set them up, and you can stick a table under there so it protects you from the sun. You can put some information out there about the church.
Yeah, you want to have. So yeah, the rest of these are kind of similar, related to this. So let's move on.
Sure.
So failure to have clearly marked guest parking.
Right. And so if you are a guest, what a lot of churches do and a lot of even businesses do is they try to give you a nice spot so you don't have to walk real far. It's clearly marked. You can park there. Maybe even helps identify the greeters if they have them, you know, who you are. So if you have guest parking, I mean, I don't think this is a huge deal, but I think it's still something nice to have if you're a large church, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So the next one, I think is a bigger deal.
Let me back up though.
What?
Okay, here's what, since we're on our soapbox here about mistakes and failures, what really gets me going is when I see staff parking for churches and they have staff parking and it's prime parking.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that to me, that just irritates me. I was like, okay, you're a pastor, you're the associate pastor. Great, we love you. We really appreciate our pastor, but look, you can't park somewhere else. You have to be right in front of the church. I mean, to me, it just communicates, I don't know, favoritism.
Yeah, could be.
Would that bother you if you saw? You've seen those. Surely you've seen that, right?
I worked in the large corporate world, and the VPs and presidents did have marked spots up in front of
I could see that. I could see VPs, but I'm talking.
But pastors. It was you kind of went, hey, this guy can't walk like the rest of us.
Right. That's all I'm getting at.
He gets here late and he parks right there.
So if you're one of those churches that has that, sorry.
Yeah. So okay, moving on here.
All right, what is it? I've lost track.
Number 9, failure to have clearly marked entrances to the worship center.
Yeah, that can be a problem sometimes. You walk in, you have no idea where you're going, and not just worship center, but bathrooms maybe, kids area. Where's the kids? If I've got kids, and some of this is on the greeters. They can help you. But, if you don't have clear signage, to me that...
especially if you have a large campus with lots of buildings.
Yeah.
Lots of separate buildings.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the one advantage is if you come at the time most people come, then you just follow the crowd. And you go, these guys must know where they're going. I'll follow them. But, yeah.
Yeah, but if you're somebody like me that clearly doesn't follow the crowd on anything... then you could get lost, right? I don't know. I think it's good to have clear signage, not just the worship center, the sanctuary, but other places as well that people would need to have access to.
Yes. All right, number 10, which is all three of these are related here.
Yep.
And we've experienced this many a time.
Oh, we have, boy.
The failure to have clearly marked entrances to the church offices.
Yeah.
And this is where there is no crowd to follow.
Yeah.
And you kind of say, oh, there's more cars parked over here than over there. Maybe that's where the church office is.
Yeah. Yep.
So, because we'll go, midweek, and people will want to go midweek, and you just wander aimlessly sometimes.
Yeah, we've gone to talk to people about streaming video, and churches, that say, hey, well, let's meet, but you get there, it's like, okay, now where's it at?
Yeah.
I mean, you're there on the property, but where is the...
Yeah, they have 4 separate little buildings, and
where's the office?
Where's the office is hidden.
Not marked.
Yes.
And you wander around. You might see somebody, a janitor or somebody walking somewhere, 100 yards away, so
and
you're trying to chase him
larger, it seems like churches doing things well. We've been lost on their campuses before.
Yeah, we have.
All right. So, and the next on our list, and you have a bonus one, right?
I do.
But the next, failure to have adequate restroom facilities.
Right.
I've now seen some of these are really like, okay, really?
Well,
you need to go to the restroom. You're going to have to run down the street to.
Years ago, and it wasn't that long ago, but it was years ago when I was starting my church. There was some kind of a study done on, reaching people and reaching new people. And one of the things that was brought up was you need to have really nice restrooms, and especially ladies' restrooms. Guys probably don't care. We go and, go on a hole in the ground or something, and nobody cares. Guys don't care. But women, it can be a bigger issue for them. And we ran across this somewhere, some article or some information about having, really, if you're going to do it right. So create some nice facilities And again, especially for the opposite sex, for the females, because they like that.
Yeah.
They like the powder room because they spend a lot of time there. You know, they go in groups. You ever notice that? Women go to the restroom in groups. Men don't normally do that. I don't really want anybody around me. But when ladies go to the restroom, they go like a herd or like a pack or something. I don't know. What's the term?
So you should have adequate facilities. So
adequate facilities because, clearly marked, telling them how to get there.
All right. So these are mistakes. These are
got one more,
11, and you have another that I haven't seen.
I have one more because we still have time. Failure to regulate the thermostat.
Oh, really?
It's a big issue.
Oh, yeah? It
can be. It just depends.
If I'm in charge of the thermostat, then there's no problems.
Well, so if something's too hot, it's not good. If the room is too warm, if the room is too cold, it's not good. And, of course, the next question comes up, well, what's the perfect temperature? And I don't know. We set ours at about 73.
That's too cold.
73 to 74 roughly is where it's at.
It's too cold.
You know what? It's. I haven't done any studies on it. I just seem to know that it works.
Find the sample of it works for you, but all the cold people are now not going there anymore.
I'll tell you what, though, if it's too warm,
because restaurants will do
colder.
They'll do even colder.
Yeah.
My wife, should Google this. We go places in August where it's 112 out, and she takes a jacket because we're going to some restaurant.
I agree too. I feel the same way. So we're not, at least at my church, we're not that extreme. We're not going to freeze you out, but you definitely need to keep an eye on it, or whatever you want to call it, because
probably err on the side of
a little bit
cooler,
a little chilly.
Yeah. Even though I'd be less comfortable.
Yeah,
but I'm weird.
Yeah. Well. But again, it's both sides of the fence. Sometimes people get too warm, but I have found that it's really, from a speaker's point of view, when people are warm, I can see it when I'm looking out there in the crowd. They just they start to they're zoning out or something. I don't know what it is. They just kind of zone out. Of course, it could be me talking that does that. But I've noticed that when it's comfortable, when the thermostat is set like it should be around 73 in our facility, people seem to be okay. There's always going to be somebody doing this, waving their hand, or somebody taking the program, or you do have some people that are like, I'm too cold, but you try to find a happy medium there, so to speak, because you're going to get both in every service.
I'm telling you, the new thing needs to be a cold section and a warm section. So you put all the cold people over here and all the warm people over here.
I mean, we could try recirculating the ductwork or something, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that would do it.
If you're too cold, go over here. Because the restaurants, I'm sure they're cranking it down. A lot of them because they're back in the kitchen and it's hot, and so they're like, "I'm dying back here."
Yeah, but I think there's more to it.
Freeze those customers out.
I guess that will be my homework. We'll look at this whole thing about temperatures in public settings and see if there's any science behind it. I bet you there is. I bet you somebody's done a study going, "Yep, this is the perfect temperature."
All right,
right? Why wouldn't they? Hey, it's the internet. Okay, we're done. Thanks, Thomas Rayner, THOM. We'd love to get your feedback on this. So send us an email, support@streamingchurch.tv, and we'd love to get your thoughts on this list. Maybe you got something to add. Maybe you think they're just crazy. We would always appreciate hearing from you. We do streaming video with streamingchurch.tv. We do mobile apps. churchapplive.com is that domain. We also do website templates as well as content management, myflock.com. So look us up and tell a friend about the Church Solutions Podcast.
All right, we'll do.
All right. He's Steve Lacy. I'm Phil Thompson. Thanks again for listening. We really do appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on another edition of the Church Solutions Podcast. Take care.